I encourage everyone to take a moment and breathe and take a tea cheers with a Jiri tea. A Jiri tea recognizes the beauty in shared stories and shared opportunities. Ajiri sources award-winning tea from Kenya, employs women in the region to handcraft the labels, and sends 100% of the profits back to the region to support orphan education. Save 10% on your order of Kenyan teas and coffee with the code BeautifullyHuman at ajiritea.com. AJIRIT.com. Tea mugs up. Hello, and welcome to the Beautifully Human podcast. I'm Nick Sheesby. In this podcast, I speak with beautiful humans from all around the world, sharing with you their incredible stories, revealing the power in every human story, to spread love and humanity to a world that is in desperate need of it, to show that we can all connect in beautiful ways no matter where we come from or what we look like. What you will find out is that we are all beautifully human. Let's all be beautifully human.
Hey,
Hey, how's it going?
going pretty good. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you for being on. How do you pronounce your name before I totally fuck it up?
CerVon.
CerVon, okay.
Yes, sir.
I feel like I could have gotten that, and I just didn't want to mess it up.
I'm pretty sure everybody says it a different way, so I'm used to it.
Yeah, my last name is, I grew up knowing it as Shesby. It's Sheasby. So every time I talk to somebody or I went to school or anything like that, it was always like Sheasby, Sheebsby, whatever it was. So I get it. Anytime I see a name that I don't know the pronunciation, I just like to ask.
I got you.
So how's your night going?
It's going pretty good. I'm really just waking up. I have been like recording 24/7 lately.
That's awesome.
I've done.
Do you have your own podcast?
No, sir. I make music.
Oh, very cool. What kind of music?
Um, I think more like R&B ish kind of music. I think kind of all over the place.
That's awesome. Do you have it up online?
Yes, sir. CerVon Campbell, pretty much on all platforms, I think.
Oh, beautiful. I'll have to check it out when we're done tonight.
Please do.
Yeah, that'll be cool. I'll put it on the little information that under our podcast when I get it up there too, so I can spread it around.
Please. How long have you been doing a podcast?
Just over a month.
Okay.
Yeah, so I work in the music industry. So I've been doing that for about 15 years, and this year obviously that didn't happen much. So
That's yeah.
yeah, so I kind of figured out a way to make a different path for myself. I was like, I really love talking to people. I shared my story. I'm a little over 2 years sober, so I shared my story, and I felt that good power and empowerment that I felt when I shared that. So, and I also always really love meeting new people and sharing stories with them and hearing their stories. So I figured, what better way to do that than start a podcast?
Yeah, that's really good. That's almost like me. I was more into venting and helping a lot of people with like mental health and stuff like that. So that's pretty much my like narrative with a lot of my music.
That's beautiful. How long have you been doing music?
About 4 years or so, 4 or 5 years.
That's awesome. So when did you start singing though? When did you start, from when you were a kid, or did you find that out later on in life?
No, I started out I think when I was like 17ish or so, I was doing stand up first, and I was traveling a lot doing stand up, but I was like writing poetry or so, just being like, okay, I'm feeling like this, I'm gonna write this out, because not everything can be made into a joke. I had to learn. So
Yeah, I can imagine.
I was just writing poetry, and I was talking to somebody, and they used it as a song, and I just kind of moved into songwriting from it.
Oh, that's so cool. What a cool way. That's a far different way than I've heard from people that you were doing stand up and then it was like, well, I'll pivot to do some poetry and then that goes into songwriting.
Yeah, I had to stop with a lot of like um so many like dark comedians I can name. I was making everything into a joke because that's like even now it's still like my healing process with a lot of stuff. I'm feeling like this. If I make a joke about it, I can like kind of get ahead of it.
Sure.
But
Yeah, I mean
I can't
comedy.
with everything.
Yeah. I mean this year would be a very dark comedic dream, I feel like.
Yeah,
I've seen some specials and I'm just like, "Oh my god, it can get real dark real quick."
I see like a lot of like even the stuff I've seen like from stand up this year, it's been good, but it's not. It's a really weird feeling when I had watched the guy. He had to perform with a face mask, and it's like I support the mask, but like to a certain extent. At this point, just like let's not have it.
Yeah.
It's been a weird for a lot of stuff.
Yeah, man, it is hard to when you're doing an expressive art. I can imagine it being
Yeah,
hard to express something with your face when it's covered up.
yeah.
Um,
You
so
have to pull it down for 5 seconds.
right, yeah, little reveal and then back up. So how did you get into stand-up comedy?
um, my dad and my brother they make music,
Okay,
so we were at a venue and I got there first and they were running late. So me, I thought the story of like why they were late, a bunch of stuff had gone on. So I went out to tell everybody why they were late and it just kind of I thought it was funny. It's funny because nobody else was laughing, but I
right.
was like honestly like dying laughing in tears. And I was like, next time I'm gonna try to make somebody laugh. Like I want to do that again. And I just kind of kept going, and just kept rolling with it.
That's so awesome. And how long ago was that?
Phew, how old am I? Probably like 6 or 7 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's so neat. What a way to begin cuz I know some people who are like super focused on it. I've actually had a I wouldn't call it a dream, but I've wanted to get up on stage and just try it. Sometimes I make myself laugh a lot and I think I can be pretty funny. I think my problem would be like if I had to script it and then kind of like make it funny. I feel like once I get going, I'd be good, but it would be that like getting that ball rolling kind of deal. But that's so cool that you kind of did it as like, all right, I got to go entertain these people. I'm just going to tell a story about my dad and brother are late. And then it turned into something. That's so cool.
I would be like, it's such an up and down thing, and it's so different from doing music because music, if I'm on stage, then it's like I don't want to see no reaction at all. Like I'll take my glasses. I'm like trying to be so focused, but if I'm doing stand up, it's like, please laugh,
Right, right.
please give me something to work
Yeah.
with.
Yeah. I can imagine. Yeah, that instant gratification would have to be like constant, I feel.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
So did you travel and do that or were you doing that locally where you're living?
Um, I think from the bat, I just started traveling doing it. I'm in South Carolina, so um, I went to Atlanta. I went to a lot of places around here, and then 2019 is my first chance. I was like, okay, I'm gonna book a tour. Well, in 2018, and I booked the tour year before last year, and just kind of was all over the place, hit all over the U.S. pretty much.
How did it go?
It went good until it just went bad. That's what made me take a break. I got a really cool opportunity to open for somebody, and I wouldn't say I had like a lot of like dark jokes, but I got to the venue and 5 minutes before I went on, they came and said, no jokes about this, no jokes about this, no jokes about this. And I was like, that's like my whole set.
Shit.
But like that cut me down from like a 15-minute spot to like 5 minutes where I'm trying to like write
Ah,
down jokes the best that I can on my wrist. And I went out there and I did really good. Then I just started bombing, trying to freestyle. And after that, I was like, you know what? I need to reevaluate.
yeah.
And then COVID happened, and it was like, now I got more time to reevaluate.
Yeah, now I got a lot of time to think about that. Yeah, I can imagine on stage freestyling jokes would not be. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that would be fine doing that, but I feel like that would be so hard. And
It really,
what I find fascinating about comedy is like what you find funny could not, you know, like the amount of like to get 1,000 people or 20 people, even like 5 people to laugh at one common thing that you know that's pretty impressive.
yeah, that's why I think like Dave Chappelle is probably my favorite comic because a lot of times, even if he's not just having you rolling laughing, he's still telling a really interesting story.
Yeah.
Where like sit and listen to him all day,
Oh yeah. Yeah, he's
even if I'm
always
not laughing. I'm entertained.
yeah. He's always got something to say even when you're sitting there just going, "Holy shit, man, like, you know, this is getting real." You're still like enthralled by what he's saying and you know, just I can never look away when he's speaking.
Exactly, I'm the same way.
You know, I mean, even like the Saturday Night Live monologues recently, like those aren't necessarily funny, but I wasn't like, no, he's not funny. I'm not going to listen to him.
Yeah, he's always interesting, and he'll. My favorite thing he'll do is he'll tell like 5 stories, and maybe none of them will be funny. It's just really like interesting, and you're just so captivated with everything he says. And out of nowhere, it all ties together, and then you're like, it's just so like really out of the blue, blueprinting with everything he does.
Yeah, it's impressive to yeah to tell like weave this story and then all of a sudden like loop it back with some punchline and you're like, oh my god, how
Yeah.
how do you even follow that? Like, I go down wormholes. I can do that very well, but then I lose my train of thought at some point and then it's not funny anymore.
Well, I tell one story and lose my train of thought. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, no kidding. The first time I saw Dave Chappelle, I was actually living in Atlanta and I was working at the music venue, the Tabernacle. Have you been there?
No, sir.
Okay. Well, anyway, he was doing a bunch of shows there, and it was right after the Mike Vick dogfighting shit went down, and it was pretty savage what how he was going after it. I was just like, I knew he can be that way, but it was just like, wow, dude, you're really going
He
for it.
wastes no time. He gives it like no break in between. As
No.
soon as it happens,
Oh
he's
no.
right up of it.
I mean, and that was when he was like Michael Vick was like Atlanta's like savior for for
Yeah.
them, and then it was like, oh, this happened, and he was like, I mean, it was within like a week or so after this all happened, so everyone was still like figuring everything out, and he was just like kicking him when he was down. I was like, damn, dude, it was brutal.
He's right on point with. I know, like he's really good friends with Louis C.K. And when the whole Louis C.K. situation happened, he wasted no time. He
Yeah,
was kind of sort of nice about it, but he wasted no time. He went right into it.
yeah, that is true. That is very true. Oh man. All right, so you did comedy. So tell me about growing up. Like, what was life like growing up?
I was a really weird kid. Like I was really to myself until I got to high school. Um, Everything I did like growing up was really secluded. I didn't want to have like a whole lot of friends until I got to high school. When I got to high school, then I wanted to be friends with everybody because I just felt it sounds weird. I just had an idea that if somebody was to shoot up my school, I want to be friends. So like I'll get a good like, we're good if it happened. So I
Yeah,
literally was friends with every single person. At least I tried to be.
sure.
So I was really nerdy. At some point, I got into like what speech and debate and stuff like that. And I played every sport. I wanted a scholarship, so I just did everything I could once I got to high school. And then as soon as I graduated, I lost every bit of that drive and was so tired. Now I'm just sleep all the time.
Yeah, it'll
Ran used
happen.
up all the energy I had.
What's that?
I said I used up all the energy I had
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, man, that happens, dude. I remember, or as I'm getting older, I can feel that. I do something and I'm like, man, I'm getting tired way quicker these days.
I've been on like a if I haven't been recording, I've been asleep for the past few days. So I'll be recording for about 4 or 5 hours, nap.
Yeah.
What's
So
that?
are you working on a new album or an EP or?
Yeah, I'm doing a lot of like feature work. I'm trying to, like gain more exposure, obviously, and
Sure.
just trying to expand my reach. So last year I got blessed to meet a lot of like singers and like people I grew up listening to and being a fan of, and I reached out to them and they reached out to me, and now this lady Anna Layla, me and her are working on a song, so we were pretty stuck in it all day. She's a Brazilian singer,
Oh, beautiful.
so meeting all these people who are like so much higher up than me, I'm just recording and working like as hard as I can really to keep up.
Yeah. Using all of that energy. You're finding that energy.
Yeah, I'm trying my best to.
So how did you get connected with a Brazilian singer?
She I worked all last year pretty much with on a song with John Oates of Hall and Oates, and
Oh yeah.
she messaged me. She heard like a lot of clips of it, and she was like, "I love the sound of it, and I want to kind of imitate that in some points." And we just a lot of it came from him. I really be trying my best to like dodge him, but like he really boosted me up last year. Working with him put me in so many different people's viewpoints.
That's
So
so cool.
a lot of it came from him.
I love Hall and Oates. I think they're fantastic. How'd you get involved in that?
No idea. He messaged me. Well, we had different stories. I remember just waking up. I saw a notification saying John Oates liked my picture, and he liked like a bunch of pictures, like blew up my notifications and commented under a bunch of stuff. And I had I liked a couple of his pictures, and then he returned, and I looked, and I was like, oh, this must be a fan page. Like,
Sure.
oh, I like the wrong one. So then he commented and was like, I really love this song, and I was like. I even comment. I still have the comment. I said, "BS, inbox me." And I
Yeah.
was like, "If this is you, like, let's work. If this is really John Oates, like, let's work on a song."
Yeah, yeah.
And he gave me his number, his email, and I was like, "Sure, okay,
Yeah.
yeah, okay." But his story is he did an interview and he said his wife was listening to a song of mine. That's how he saw it. So either way, it really threw me off. I did not believe it. Even while we was making the song, I didn't believe it until I actually met him, which was like 2 months into it.
That's amazing. That's so cool. And I love
Yeah, it
that
was one
just
of
like
the
random connections. That's so neat.
Yeah, that's everything the last year was for me.
Man, how cool. So is that song out now?
No, we was about to put it out. It was a week away from coming out. He was like, he had a friend that was working on a movie, and he was like, he really likes it. He wants to make it like the main song for this movie. So if we can wait a while, which turned out to be a long while,
Yeah.
then we can get it attached to this movie. And I was like, sure, go for it. And then when we did that, we did a full re-record, and we added so much more to it. And that was like 8 months into the making of making it. And now I think the movie comes out some point this year.
Okay.
So yeah, it'll be out.
And that the song's going to be a part of it.
Yes, sir. That was like my main part of last year, my biggest accomplishment probably.
That is so cool. That is so cool. So, I mean, it leads me to what I was thinking is like obviously when that would come out, you would want to tour, and I'm sitting here same as you, man. Like touring is just such a hot topic right now. Of like it'd be nice to go do it because I've been doing it for 15 years, but it's just such a strange time for that.
It is. I had put out so many messages to different venues and was like, hey, I really want to do this and tried to book as many as I could. And I think I sent out to like maybe like 70 places. And I think I say more than half of them say yes. Then they came out with the new COVID restriction like a few weeks later. So I had put out a bunch of enough time where I wanted to go out in February and be going through March, so like maybe just 2 months. And everything was a go. And then when the restrictions came out, Then I was left with like I think 15 places, and right now it's still like 10 of them, and a few of them said we'll get back soon and let you know. So at this point,
Yeah.
I'm just waiting, just seeing what happens.
Yeah, man.
They
It's
keep changing every 5 seconds now.
yeah. Yeah, it's just it's so unpredictable right now what's going to happen.
Yeah,
So,
I've seen a lot of artists do live shows. I'm impressed by it, like the Instagram live and stuff, shows like that.
yeah, I've actually
So I
been
think that
work
might be,
what's that?
so I think that's the new style now. That's the new show.
Yeah, I mean, I've been working with a company that people pay to do live streams or songwriting sessions online or like 15-minute serenades, just kind of like reinventing music and a live feel. And I have to admit, being a part of music for so long, to me, I missed it this year. I didn't realize how much I would, but I did. And then this came up like November timeframe, and I started working these events, and it was really cool actually to see like a one-on-one session of like a songwriter or whatever, and a fan who it was their 14th wedding anniversary or something like that, and then they just got a one-on-one, but like they got to interact like you and I are, and it was pretty neat
That
to
is
see
cool.
like if you go to a concert, even if you go to a meet and greet, you're never going to have that conversation that these people are getting because they're on Zoom. And sure, it's through a screen, but you would never get to ask them questions or have 15 minutes just sitting there with any of these artists. And now, it's becoming available because, we all have to reinvent what this all looks like.
I I love the idea of it, but I know if I was doing anything and I booked a show with like my favorite singer or somebody, and I'm just sitting there watching them interacting with them, I won't be able to handle it. I'm such a like a geek out person when I meet people. Couldn't do it.
Yeah.
I could not handle
Yeah, it's been funny to see like I mean a lot of emotional people. A lot of people get on, and it's cuz one cool thing is like if I wanted to buy you something from your favorite person, I could go on and buy it for you and surprise you with it. So I've seen so many people that like we have a point of contact with like their husband or their boyfriend or their, whatever, their partner, and then all of a sudden they're on a Zoom call with their favorite person and they're like, "Oh my god," and they just start crying. And I mean it's really cool to be a part of that, to like that was one of my favorite things. I typically do VIP for the bands that I work for, so I run the meet and greets or the pre-parties and stuff like that, so I get to see that and feel that energy. And I know for me, I mean, music has been a massive part of my life, not only because I've worked in it, but I'm just a huge music nerd, and it's really cool to see that emotion, even if it has to be like we're looking at each other right now. It's still pretty cool
it.
for
Yeah,
for what we got.
it's a really cool new learning curve. Yeah, it's a it's still something I'm working on getting used to, which I like, and I like that it pushes me because I had just got out of my shell with performing and a lot of stuff because I'm really introverted. I'm just I'm trying my best to be a people person, but I'm so awkward. So like I'm learning and I'm trying to push it out. Like I keep saying I'm gonna do a live show, but my energy is just so off where it's like, okay, I'm gonna get to it eventually.
Yeah.
I'm procrastinating it.
Are you talking a lot like a live 2020 and 21, like you and I are hanging right now, like do a like a Facebook live kind of deal?
Kinda. I've seen like Playboy Cardi, he just put out one the other day. Chance the Rapper did one. Well, they just and Amine did one for his album release. They just did a venue and
Oh yeah.
they fully set up, check it out, and it's not like they record it like a movie, or they just you can tune in on live and watch it. Just different ways I've seen it done.
Yeah, it is opening a new creative wave that we're having to see and do, with life. I mean, I've seen shows done so many ways, but now like yeah, I've seen some of the ones that they take over a venue and you just get to film it how you want. Like a band that I worked with. They're from the UK. They just did a live stream, and I mean, it looked like they were in a movie. You know, I mean, it was just like a Tron movie. You know, it was just like this '80s like, you know, they were in there and they just green screened everything, and I was like, holy shit, man, that is really cool. And it's not something you could do live, especially in venues if you're not selling arena size. Like, you can only put so much into a club, you know. And these guys just
Hmm.
had this whole space to work with, and it turned out to be really cool.
Yeah, like Chance the Rapper, his was more, I think, more like Mr. Rogers inspired, where he really just he came in, sit down, he performed different songs, walking through a set or whatever, however they had it made. It opens a door, it starts a lot of new stuff, and I like it. I want to see where it goes, and hopefully I can get to jump in at some point.
Yeah, dude, that would be really cool. Yeah, it is. It will be neat to see. Like, I watched Billie Eilish's, and hers was really awesome. She did a full live stream, and she had an interactive merch store that you could like click on, and like it was really incredibly well done. And it was right around the time like the vote was happening, so it was like click here to register to vote, and like it was just really neat to see. Yeah, that creativity and a whole new world of what this all looks like.
Yeah, I like that idea.
So in all your travels and all your tours, or well, tours and also just travels in general, what's your favorite? What's your favorite place you've been to?
Um, Probably Vegas because like I don't really do anything, but I was there and well in California, and a lot of the people that I was with, we would be walking outside, and out of nowhere they'll just start smoking a blunt or something like that or drinking, and I'm like, whoa, you can't do that, and I'm scared. And then we pass the cop, and it's just like, oh, it's legal here. Okay, let me do your thing. And it was just and the energy there is really good, and any place. Those are. It's only a few places where if I go to, people will come and actually know the words to songs and stuff like that. So I try to stick to the places where I can get that feeling where people actually, pay attention
Yeah,
and be able to like, fully enjoy it. So I try to stick to that place. Vegas usually is my best one.
that's so cool. And so you have people that sing along with your songs in Vegas.
Yeah, Vegas and Phoenix. I think Phoenix and Chicago. They're like my main places where I have my most listeners. So usually when I say, hey, I'm going here, man, I sell out a show, but I have a really good turnout, and I love that feeling. It's like somebody can actually sing along to something I wrote. Is Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah, very much so. Like I have, I mean, I've loved music my whole life. I don't sing, I don't play. I always tell people my musical talent is looking like I should play music. So if I learn an instrument, then I already I have half the battle down, and you know we'll see if I get to an instrument. But I always, in every show that I go to or that I work, when I see people on stage and people are singing every single word of something you wrote, like tell me about the power that feels, or what you feel in that moment.
It's really like I said this all the time. My brain just randomly at times hits me with dopamine, and that's really what it's like. 'Cause I remember like the first time it happened, I had looked down and I saw this girl like crying, and I was like, I know it's sad, so I'm just like, from that moment. Then she started singing with me, and I had stopped thinking like maybe she's mumbling, and she was just like really knowing the words. And I think at that point, that was like it was only like maybe a few people that did that. So right after, where it was like counting probably like 10 or 15 people that was just locked in, knew the words, and was just right there. It was just like, holy God, like I don't even know what to cuss, like how to cuss with it. It was just like really shocking. And I remember I always freeze up when I acknowledge it because it's weird. Like you grow up having these people that you're just so like intrigued by and you're just so in love with, and then you have somebody that actually cares back, who actually considers themselves a fan. It's really humbling. So I just kind of freeze at all times. It's a really weird feeling.
Yeah, I imagine so. I I was actually talking with a friend today who he was a singer songwriter. He works in the industry, and he was like, we got on the topic of super fans, and he was like, it's just funny to me because like to me, I'm just like me. I'm a songwriter, and I love what I do, but I never imagined like having somebody be like, oh my god, you're my favorite, and everything I do they love, and they they know the lyrics and stuff. And it was like, it's fun. It's cool to hear you say that too, of like, you looked up to these people in life, and now you have people that are starting to do that with you. That's got to be a very interesting feeling.
It really is because it's like I don't know the words to a lot of my songs. So like when it's time to go on the road, I'm really studying the words. So if I'm performing a song and I barely know it, and you know it, it's just like okay,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
really very.
That's so cool. That's so fun. So growing up, or who did you grow up listening to? What kind of music? What was your influences?
I was all over the place. I would go from like Queen to Lil Wayne to Taylor Swift to like Hall and Oates. My whole life I've idolized Labyrinth. That's one of my favorite singers, and Matt and Kim.
Oh yeah.
Schools, just kind of like a wide range. Like I listen to everybody. My motivation music has always been like female pop stars, like Katy Perry
Yep.
and Miley Cyrus. Those are like I was really all over the board with music.
Yeah, I love that. It's funny when people see me, people see you and me and everybody in the world, they get a certain idea about maybe what they listen to or whatever. And man, I always tell people, they're like, what's your go-to karaoke song? And I'm like, oh man, give me like a Katy Perry, a Taylor Swift, and I'll get up there and I'll rock the hell out of it. And they're like, you like, I mean, it's just funny when people look at you, and I'm like, man, I love pop music. I love female pop music. Give it to me. Like one of my dream jobs would be to be Kesha's hype man. Just get up on stage and hype
I would
Kesha
love
up.
I would love to. I know like Playboy Cardi, he put that's like the main rap album that had just came out, and I was up all night and I was posting about other stuff. And somebody asked if I listened to it yet, and I was like, "Nah, I'm on Folklore, or however you say it, by Taylor Swift." She
Oh
had
yeah.
just put it out, and it was like, "Oh, okay." Like I didn't think that was your go-to, but okay. Yeah, I
Yeah.
stayed up. I waited for it to come out. I stayed up, listened to the whole thing. Then I had to compare it to one of her other albums. Yeah, I'm weird. I was yeah.
I love that though. And it's damn good.
Yeah, like that's one of my favorite artists.
Yeah, she's incredible. She is super awesome. But I love that. I love that you draw influence from so many people in your music.
Yeah, I don't like one genre. So like when I make music, I try to bend around as many genres into it as I can. So I have to pick from all these different places, especially like now trying to make beats and all that kind of stuff. I've never been able to. So doing it, I don't know what I want my sound to be like. So I'm just all over the place with who I listen to.
Yeah. So how are you finding making the beats? Are you enjoying it?
Not at all. I don't like it. When people like tell me like I make beats all day, I'm like, I really don't understand how because the way I like you literally go second by second. Like it is the most time consuming thing. I really cannot get into it. All the music I put out, I probably have like 3 songs where I completely did it all.
Yeah.
And like now I'm recording myself and doing the whole production part of it. And I say what it's been like 3 months that I've been like, okay, I'm finna sit down and record. I have 2 beats done. I do not like this part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know anything about it, but I can imagine like going from going into that without having much have not having not much done it much and trying to learn it right
My
now.
whole recording my whole recording process has always been I have the lyrics ready and I have a flash drive with a bunch of beats people have gave me. So I just plug one up I'll start listening. Okay, that kind of fits here. Let's go ahead. And somebody else will record me.
Yeah.
Now, when it's like I have to be responsible for the beat, lyrics, and recording myself, too much work. Way too much work.
Yeah. Yeah, I can imagine, especially even like I know when I start to record a podcast, I'm like, okay, I'm calling somebody, I got to hit record, and I'm like listening to make sure I can hear everything. And I mean, luckily, so far I haven't looked down and I haven't been recording like 20 minutes in, which I guess wouldn't be the end of the world, but I'd be like, ah. So even just keeping those three little details together of like, okay, it's time, this, and this, I feel like I could mess up a beat, a song, and recording myself pretty easily.
Yeah, I would break down. Just the other day, I spent like 4 hours on a song, and when I went to save it, the thing I record on, it all crashed,
Oh
and my
no.
computer cut off. I just sat there like, I quit. I don't want to ever do this again.
Yeah.
I'm done with music. I quit.
Yeah.
I quit. I'm going back to school.
Yeah, that's
And
it.
yeah,
Oh man. Yeah,
it was
that's
it
one of
was
my
difficult.
worst nightmares on anything is just like yeah, the equipment failing after you've been working on something for so long.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah. And when I record, I try to go start to finish on the song. Like I try to do the hook, verse, and everything at once in one hit. And if I mess up and don't like record or so, like I do that all the time. But I try to look at it now like, okay, that was practice. We're okay. We're
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Just use it. Just use it. So I'm going to switch gears a little bit because I said worst nightmares. Sometimes I like to ask people, what is your biggest fear?
I'm afraid of boats. It's it's a slight reason behind it, but also no reason behind it. Every time I've ever been on a boat, I just have to get something to sit on and kind of put myself to sleep. I don't like boats. I don't know why. I just do not like boats.
All right. Yeah, mine is
That's always the response. Like, okay.
yeah. No, it's fine. I was going to say my biggest fear is I've been told it's rationalized, but I would not want to be stuck in the middle of the ocean in the middle of the night. So mine's kind of related to that in the being out there just kind of stuck in the middle of all that just darkness and nothingness. That just horrifies me.
Okay, a new fear to add to my list. Okay, that, that's a good one.
Yeah,
I've never thought about that.
it's scary, man. I was
Yeah.
doing one of your biggest fears earlier this year, and I was on a cruise ship. I was working with a production company that put on music cruises, and so another big fear of mine is just heights. I've had a dream of free falling since I was a kid, and so I combined being in the middle of the ocean in the middle of the night and being 13 stories up this summer or earlier this year, and man, it was not easy. Some points I couldn't walk up by the railing. It was freaking me out. But
My depth makes me not like heights. Yeah, I'm saying.
sorry, what was that?
I said I have bad depth perception, so I have a fear of heights too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, so but I also because I was on a ship and I wasn't actually like just floating in the middle of the ocean, I found peace in it just looking out into the horizon, into the darkness, and it was kind of nice. I kind of liked it. It was very calm and peaceful. Now like a perfect storm rolls up and I'm out.
If there's like something like an island or something, we're like, okay, we gotta hurry up and get on this boat to get there. I don't mind swimming. I'm like, it's not that I have a fear of drowning. I'm fine swimming to whatever destination. I just don't want to step foot on no boat.
All right.
I just couldn't.
Yeah, I was actually wondering if that was coupled with it if you were not a swimmer.
No, I love to swim,
Just not the boats.
just not to be on a boat.
Fair enough, man. That's all right. So, that's why I love asking the question because I just never, you never know. I mean, and I can't say it's irrational because it's not my mind. Like I've heard all across the board of what fears. Like some people could say mine's irrational. I'm not. There's no right or wrong
No,
answer.
yours is a new one for me because that makes a lot of sense. Like
Yeah.
I fully get that. I
No,
do.
But I mean, I know a lot of people that aren't fans of boats either. I mean, it's a very wobbly, just floating thing that you stand in and hope it doesn't go under. I mean, it can be horrifying.
To yours, I have that. It's this thing, drifting. It's like a spa thing. You get in these little capsules, and it takes away all sound and everything, and you're just floating there
Hmm.
in the dark, no sound or anything. See, I do that a lot. Now I'm gonna be scared if I do it again. If I'm like, I am now in the middle of the ocean.
And you know what's funny? As I do that as well, I really enjoy it. But now I'm going to be thinking about that too every time I do it. Maybe that'll help us conquer that fear. Now the fear
Yeah,
that I've given you and I've had for myself, maybe that'll help us get past that.
yeah, that's gonna be my new practice.
Yeah. All right. So, if you were given any superpower, what would it be?
Telekinesis.
All right.
I would just be really lazy and just bring stuff to me. I would not have to get up. I can just stay where I'm at. I have this like big idea of like instead of like you know how you set up on a bed just to fully levitate all the way up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I like
I'll be
that.
very yeah.
That's a
How
good
about you?
one.
What's your go-to power?
Mine would be to speak every language in the world. To any person I could speak any language. If they walked up to me, I would just know what language. When I found out what language they spoke, I would be able to speak to them.
You're beating me with the fears and the powers and everything.
No, man. Like when I thought about it, and I was starting into like these questions that I like to ask people. The reason why I came up with that one because I met a man when I was in Istanbul, and this dude, literally, as people were walking by him, he was selling hot air balloon rides out in the Turkish countryside, which would have been amazing, but I didn't end up doing it. And literally every time someone would walk by, he would just start trying to sell them a hot air balloon ride. And he would speak in Turkish first. And then whatever language, so me, I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I don't speak your language." He'd instantly go to English, or he'd go to French, or he'd go to whatever language it was. And I sat there just fascinated with this guy because I was like, man, what a cool way to interact with people. Is just like, oh, you don't know my language? Cool, I'll come to yours. And like so
That is cool.
when he had a second and he wasn't busy, I just walked up to him and I was like, "Hey man, I got to ask you, how many languages do you speak?" And he was like, I speak 14 languages, and because I can speak that many languages, I can get by with X amount of other ones. But he spoke fluently 14 languages. So he's like, basically there's not anybody in the world that I can't on some level communicate in their language. I mean, he probably false. There's probably some people he couldn't communicate with, but the majority of people in the world he can talk to in a different language. And so I was like, yeah, that would be the best. Just literally walking into like a cafe in Oslo and being like, cool, now I can speak Norwegian.
You know, I have a hard enough time with my own language. I always say I want to learn another one, but I just cannot follow through. That's got to be a new goal. I want to.
Yeah.
Okay, new power.
Yeah, I mean if I could go back and tell anything to younger Nick, and I wouldn't change anything about my life, but I would just say, "Hey Nick, pay attention to languages when you were a kid. Like, learn those languages. It'll enhance your life as you get older." I wish I would have done that.
I'm bad at learning languages, but I also like with people I know, I make sure I get like a phrase or something off of them. It might not always resonate, but I'll like keep trying. Like I'll keep using it when I'm around them, so I can kind of embed it, so I'll know. So I have like a phrase or two, but other than that, nah, can't stick to it.
Yeah, but that's cool though. At least you're lending yourself to that, to at least knowing a phrase or two. I think that's rad.
Yeah, because I know like a lot of people in their languages, when they have like different languages they speak, I think it means a lot to them to kind of like pass it on, like because it's like it's a passion to them a lot of times, and I think when people share their passion, that's when they're most happy. So I think a cool thing to try to get to know when you know other people, if that makes sense.
Oh, totally. I think that's you said it incredibly beautifully. Of yeah, just letting people share their passions, and then at least if you can meet them somewhere with one or two phrases, that's pretty amazing. It's a good
Yeah,
connection.
so I'm bad with like listening to people's music, but like if they send it to me and they like, hey, I really would like your input on this, I'll push out time to because I know like it takes a lot to do that to like make it and they put a lot into it. So I love like, sharing what people are into.
Yeah, I think that's super cool, and that's what I like doing. It's why I like doing this podcast is I get to meet people, and I started off with friends of mine and just like people I met in my travels that I didn't know super well that were from around the world, but like to sit down and have an hour or so conversation with the perfect strangers, pretty awesome as well to find out your passions and what you're into and just share that for a while. It's pretty rad.
Yeah, I agree with you.
And I think it's what's troubling about a lot of where the world is right now is so many people just aren't lending themselves to learning about other people, and I'm like, man, you got to know that you can learn anything. You can learn so much from everybody. Just open your mind.
Yeah,
Like it doesn't matter.
everybody else has something new. That was the goal. I wanted to like kind of better myself or be more well rounded. So I wanted to learn a lot.
Yeah. So speaking of all the traveling and learning new things and being other places and meeting new people, if obviously COVID restrictions and all that aside, if I came to you and I said, I have a plane ticket to anywhere in the world, you get to choose anywhere in the world, where would you go to?
Probably Ohio. I don't know where in Ohio. I have this fascination I've always had my entire life. I just love Ohio because everybody I've ever met from there said there's nothing in Ohio. And I like the idea of just like being out in the middle of nowhere, not in the middle of the ocean, but just in the middle of a forest and like in a cabin and just not having reception where I can finally learn to put my phone down
Yeah.
and just kind of be there in the moment and kind of, I say fend for myself, but be close enough to other people where I can, go to a store, but far enough where it's like I'm really out here on my own right now. Like, get away from TVs and all this other stuff because I'm bad with like all that stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Funny that you say Ohio because I grew up in Ohio.
So, what's your rating of Ohio? You liked Ohio? You had to get away from it? What's your thought?
I liked it. It was a nice place to grow up. I was glad to get out and see other places and meet new people. It's very, where I grew up, it was very similar minded people, and they're still kind of on that same mind frame these days. And that's, I haven't lived there in almost half my life. I haven't lived there since I was 18. So almost 18 years now, and they just haven't changed much, and so it was good for me to grow up there because I can be good in a small town, but I also appreciate big cities when I get to them, and I appreciate, like you said, being out and away and not being by people. I mean, it was like 17,000 people in my hometown, but yeah, I mean, it was nice to not have a lot going on in the place that I grew up. We were very creative. We went out and made our own fun. We did stupid shit just to keep ourselves entertained. So I always enjoyed being there, but I also enjoyed when I was able to get out and go other places and see other places.
I miss that about where I'm from. Well, I'm from Knoxville, but I grew up in Centerville, like South Carolina, in
Yeah,
those areas. And growing up, we were really small. Like everything was small town. We knew everybody, and then little by little, we just kept getting bigger and bigger. And now it's like it's always traffic. It's always full everywhere you go. It's always at its capacity, and I miss the small town areas of it. I miss like it wasn't a subdivision everywhere you look around, and all that has changed. So I know like a lot of places in Ohio, different people I've met, they said the same thing. It's like, oh, a lot of people there don't change. They keep these small areas. So I like the idea of that.
Yeah, I like the idea of keeping it small. I mean, there's been some population growth and like some industry come in there. What I don't like about it is like they haven't really adapted or updated their ideas of people and
Mm-hmm.
of differences that would they should be not even you know thinking about. It's just like there's people, we're all just humans. So take that stigma out of it, like that's the part where I'm like, you need to join our, join this year. It's 2020. You need to get rid of that mindset, So I don't mind wanting to be in a small place. Like I feel, like I said, I feel fine when I get to smaller places, but I don't like the closed mindedness that brings sometimes.
Well, we're 50-50 here. Like in the South, you have the idea of like the full conservative, but we're like a lot of people I've seen change and come a long way. Like I know this older lady that I sit with a lot of times. She'll say stuff where it might come across like she might be being racist, but she's actually giving you a lot to think about. Like last thing she said was, "You should be happy because back when I was growing up, your people wasn't allowed to do this. You wasn't allowed here. You wasn't able to do this." So like I know like I have a lot of friends that if they heard that they would interpret it completely different, just
Sure.
instantly be mad. But like you have to know where people's hearts are at. Like with her, like at least I know that she's really being sincere, like trying to have me reflect and be grateful. I feel like a lot of things now, a lot of people aren't grateful for, but I'm really grateful. I might not, be at every protest and be able to do all this and all that, but I'm grateful for where, my position, what I'm able to do now.
Yeah,
So like, yeah, I appreciate a lot of stuff that she says.
that's so cool. Where do you sit with her?
I just kind of like, I'm big at going into nursing homes and like a lot of places and talking to those people, older people, and like people at my church and stuff like that. Like I like to get advice from older people.
Yeah, it's a
People that have done it before.
right. Yeah, yeah. It is really cool when you get to get the wisdom from an older generation who's seen it. I mean, and I mean, they've seen a lot in their time. I mean, they've lived through
Hmm.
an incredible amount of life. So it's really cool that you go and hang out and sit and take the time to do that. It's not a lot of people do that.
I've always went on taking advice. Like I take everybody's advice. I might not use everybody's advice, but I'll take it in. I know, like growing up, I didn't want to go to prom, and somebody's like, "Oh, I always wish that I went to prom." And a lot of people always say that if I was still in school, I would have did this, I would have did that. So I went out. I went and tried to get all those experiences. I might not have liked it, but you gotta do it for other people. A lot of people didn't get that chance.
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that. I mean, I would say the same thing. Like I'm a big proponent of live life, man, and get all the experiences you can. Go see the world, go travel, go meet people, sit down with somebody who, yeah, might say something that isn't the most correct thing to say, but you can still learn from them, and you see their heart. Like we my partner and I, we were traveling this summer. We bought a camper van, and we drove around and stayed away from people, and it was quite nice. But we broke down in North Dakota, and we met this man. It was really cool. He was there getting his van worked on. We were there getting our van worked on, and he came up to me and he just started talking and chatting away, and he was talking about farming in the 40s and just like all this craziness. And I grew up in Ohio, so like I never farmed. My friends' parents were farmers, so I had seen it. I'd been around it. My hometown is surrounded by cornfields, so I knew enough about it. And so he was just telling me about like how he saw the first motorized tractor and all this crazy, or, like all this crazy stuff. And then like, I was like, all right, Gene, I got to go check into my hotel. And he was like, well, I'd love for you to come to my house and like see my art and see all this. And my partner and I, we were like, well, I don't want to infect this old man, like I don't know what to do. Like we're being safe. We were masked up and we were, keeping our distance. And so anyway, I was like, yeah, Gene, give me your phone number and I'll call you later. We were gonna go do laundry and whatever. Anyway, flash forward. I come in to get changed at the at the front desk, and he was just standing there, and he was asking the woman at the front desk like, yeah, there were these two younger people, and trying to describe who we were and have her tell him what room we were in. And so I was like, Gene, what's up? And he ended up sitting there at the hotel with me for like an hour and a half waiting for Lindsay to finish her the laundry. And then we went to his house and he brought his artwork and he just showed us all this stuff. And he just needed someone to talk to, and he talked about his wife and his regrets with his wife. And I was just like, what I took from it was like, man, you can get so much from this. I'm sure he was pushing 90 years old, and just like listening to his stories and like, it was sad to hear his regrets of what he did or didn't do when his wife was still alive. But then it just made me go, I need to take advantage of every second on this earth, like I have to go live and experience these things. And that, it wasn't like a direct advice that he gave me, but just by hanging out with this guy and giving him the time, he just was so happy to have somebody to talk to. So I think that's really cool that you go to those, to those places and sit and chat with those people.
Yeah, I've noticed like even it's not even always older people. A lot of people just need somebody to talk to, just somebody to be there, if anything. So yeah, I'm big on. I just had a conversation with somebody the other day in my inbox, and they randomly messaged me, and when I responded, it was like, "Oh, I didn't think you would respond." But I try to respond to everybody, at least what that means, because I understand like a lot of people just want to talk. They just want, maybe a music review. They just want some form of communication and know, like, I ain't gonna say validation, but just like like you say, it's art, just something they want to show off their stuff and, just reach somebody, have any kind of interaction about their craft and stuff. So, like, I know I do. So I'm not gonna, like, stop it from somebody else. I'm gonna try at all times to at least accommodate different people's, needs or whatever. So at least I'm gonna try to. So yeah, and you gain so much from that with like just like even my writing style. A lot of it came from somebody was doing like just talking about all their problems and airing it out. And I know I'm introverted, so like I'm not going to just air out. I feel like this. I feel like this. Where they say go scream all your problems. I can't do that, but I can write it. So like I get real personal in my writing, and that's where it all stems from. You learn so much from all these people.
Yeah, man, I love that. I love that. It's so cool. And like you said, so many people, they just want to be heard. They want to know that somebody out there heard what they had to say or their song or,
Mm-hmm.
whatever. And, I think we all want that. And I think that's, when you can give that to somebody, give that gift of just a little bit of your time, that is so valuable. Like
Mm-hmm.
it you never know what that gives to somebody. Like
Exactly.
I was driving today and there was a man standing on the side, standing on the street, and he was just waving to everybody, and I was like, I make it a point to wave to everybody, because I'm like, I just want that person to know that somebody saw him today. I didn't,
Mm-hmm.
I didn't, I didn't stop, but at least it was like, hey, man, like somebody didn't just ignore me again and drive by. As simple as that. Of like, they just want to be seen, they want to be heard, and be, know that they're human as well.
And it's the littlest thing, the smallest things. It's like that's a show Scrubs. That's one of my favorite shows.
That's a great show.
And there's this character every season. She comes into the hospital needing help, but it's always something really little. And they're not like really paying attention to what it is. They just think she's a hypochondriac. She's just annoying, showing up. But then she comes in and they notice it's a type of poison that got into her, but they can't tell what it's from. And then when they break down all the time she's been in there And the little stuff she tells, like, oh, me and my boyfriend had a fight, this, that, and this. And like, oh, well, maybe she's depressed. Maybe she tried to kill herself. And when they put all that together and they see, and they've been ignoring her and being like, not rude, but just like putting her off all these different times, all these different seasons. So she's a killing herself. And the weight of that, they all realized, like, if they had took that 2 seconds to actually like really listen to her and
Yeah.
all this difference, like those little things, they really do matter.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I know when I need to talk to somebody and I get that chance, I feel so much better after that, you know. So I know when I'm able to give that gift to somebody, it's so nice, and you know, like I love having these conversations, you know, and putting them out and letting people hear other perspectives, even if they don't get to have those conversations. To just listen to a conversation between two strangers, you know, it's like
Yeah,
there's beautiful commonality in all of us, you know, like we all want to be seen, we all want to be heard, you know, like we all want to be validated, even if it's just a little bit of like, man, I'm alive. Somebody, my existence means something to somebody.
yeah, it's so I love perspective. Like it's just like it sounds weird because like growing up, especially in the South, like if and not to go like off and be just so raunchy or whatever, but the idea of growing up, you see another man, it's like, oh, ew, that's weird. It's like, being like 6 years old, that's the idea somebody put into your mind.
Sure.
And I remember the biggest, like, this older white man who you just look at, you just instantly think, like, he's so conservative. He might be a racist. He might be this. He might be that. And something he said that really changed my life. I had to be like 11 years old. And there's a boy in my church who's like, everybody always knew he was gonna be like, go the other way. Oh, I'm really bad at terms. He was gonna be gay. Like he just put it. You could tell, and and I still to this day say this. It is so hard to find happiness. So if somebody can find it, leave them alone. Just let them do what they gotta do.
Right.
And that like volumes, that like completely changed my life. So like and I used it to everything. Like it was like I got cheated on in high school, and I looked at it like, hey, if you wasn't happy here, if you really went out and you found something that makes you happy, I can't even be mad at you. Like I use it for everything. So it's a lot of stuff that I should get mad at that I kind of let go, and a lot of little stuff that I do get mad at that I should let go. But that's what always, I always go back to. Like it's really hard to find things that like really motivate you, make you feel something, and
Yeah.
especially with me, like growing up with depression and stuff like that, like it's so hard to find stuff that really clicks for you. But like once you do, it's like man, leave them alone. Like
Yeah.
let them have it.
Right. Yeah. And yeah, I think that's so beautifully said. Of like, if someone's happy, let them be, man. Like, you want to be happy. I want to be happy. I'm pretty sure everybody in the world wants to be happy. So if someone's found happiness in whatever form that is, yeah, let them be. Just let them be.
Yeah, I'm not gonna pick on nobody. Like I know like the kids that was like Naruto running to class, dressing up as Goku and stuff like that. I always looked at it like, you know what, do what you do, live your best life. Like
Yeah,
I'm
do
happy
it,
for
man.
you.
Yeah, yeah, get it. Who cares?
Especially when they can be so bold about it and just really ride it. Like I always admire those people because I know I couldn't be that person.
That's the thing, man. That is something on top of all of it, of like, leave those people alone. They have the courage to do it. They have the courage to get out and be what they are and who they are. And even if it's just for that moment and then they're going to be something else, that's cool too. Let them be. Let them do it.
And I noticed like a lot of the times when people actually do get mad and be like, "Oh, that's not right. I hate this, that, and that's weird." They're jealous.
Totally.
Like I understand they're jealous.
Yeah.
So like, hey, dude, do what you do.
Yeah, yeah. If you can't find happiness in yourself and then you see somebody else doing something that you wouldn't be happy doing, but they're happy doing it, that pisses a lot of people off.
I do it all the time. Like me and my wife, we talk about this all the time. It's this one guy we went to school with who is just so himself, but it's like he's trying so hard to be like, just off the wall. I always look at his page and I'll look like, do you really have to do all of that? But at the same time, it pushes me where it's like, I do need to like, push myself. I need to try different things. So it's not even I'm just like hating on this guy. It's just like he's just so I guess himself.
Yeah.
And I talked to him earlier this week, like, hey, I really like your song. He was like, yeah, I listen to your music too, and we talked a little bit. And it's a lot of times, if you just turn around and look at yourself, like you kind of get something. So all the time that I was like, that guy's weird. Just like you need to be weirder.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Get out there and be yourself and be weird. I think
Yeah,
I think we all need to be weird. I love weird people.
yeah.
I think
Weird
it's better
stuff
than
them off,
being.
being afraid of boats.
Yeah. Oh shit. All right. So on that note, on all of this, I like to end with like two questions. The
Okay.
f- the first one being, what would you want the world to know about you?
Um, I say my message, if I can put out anything, is that things get better, things be okay. So like, if I make a sad song, I try to end it with a positive note. So like, I was always grown up like in a dark place. I focused on it, and then when I, tried to acknowledge the good things, then better stuff happened. So anything you know about me is I was able to turn stuff around. Everything was dark, but I found light in it. So I guess that's one.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And last one, what or if you had the ear of everybody in the world, what would you say to them?
I know this sounds really weird and like, just off the wall, but if everybody was to like if I could tell everybody one thing or another thing, it'll be to either go stream my music or follow me on Instagram. I don't have like no deep meaning to tell everybody. Just hey, come help me.
Yeah. Support.
If everybody was streamed at one time, that royalty check would be so gorgeous. Please.
So what is your handle on there?
Just sex monkey limo driver.
Sex monkey limo driver. All right. So I was waiting to bring that up, but I need to hear this. We'll go out with the story of sex monkey limo driver.
I was like 13 when I made my Instagram. So I really didn't have a whole lot of thought into it. It was this game on Nickelodeon that you would think sex would not be allowed to be used as a username, but you needed four words to make one name, and you got to scroll through and find the words. So sex, monkey, and by that time, that's weird enough. Limo driver just went together.
Yeah.
So I used it on Instagram, and then when I started, like really using Instagram seriously, I got verified, and now I can't change it. And like I'll message and I'll send in reports and like I've tried so many different things to change my username, but I can't. Like for the longest, my bio has always been Instagram won't let me change my.
Yeah. Oh, that's incredible. Sex
Yeah,
monkey limo driver. So everybody out there, go follow the sex monkey limo driver. That's a
please.
I love that it's that simple. And you're dead on with like when you said Nickelodeon, I was like, okay. And then like to put sex with Nickelodeon, that's very strange. I'm surprised that was the word that was allowed to be used.
Yeah, it was this game Nick Tropolis. It was kind of like you made a character and you can go to everybody's worlds and all kind of stuff.
Got you.
Yeah, like Monkey Limo Driver.
Sex monkey limo driver. I think that's fantastic. And dude, it has been such a pleasure talking to you. I've really
Yeah,
enjoyed
that's what I enjoyed it.
hanging out.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. I enjoyed it as well.
All right, brother. Well, I hope you have a good night, man.
You as well.
And hey, keep in touch too. I mean, I enjoy meeting new people and keeping in touch with people. So,
Yeah, keep in touch. Follow me. I'm gonna follow right back.
all right, I will. Sex monkey limo driver, I'm coming for you.
All right. Until next time.
All right, man. See you.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to the Beautifully Human podcast. To hear more beautiful stories from beautiful humans, follow us on Spotify and rate and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Instagram at Wanderlust Moon Duo. Peace signs up.